Then I would murmur, "Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Gessler." "Good morning," he would reply, still looking at the leather in his hand. Now, the author would murmur, that is, he would speak softly, "Thank you," and wish good morning to the shoemaker. In return, the shoemaker would also wish him, but looking at the leather in his hand. He never looked at the author. Now the author had said thank you to him because he had ordered a pair of boots, and the shoemaker promised to make those boots and give him within a 2 weeks time. And as I moved to the door, I would hear the tip tap of his slippers going up the stairs to his dream of boots. Why does the author say dream of boots? Because the shoemaker was so much engrossed in his work that the author felt that as if he was in his own dream world, the world where he made boots, applying all his skills and his creativity to make perfectly fitting boots. I cannot forget that day on which I had occasion to say to him, "Mr. Gessler, that last pair of boots creaked, you know." So once it so happened that the author complained to the shoemaker that the last pair of boots that he made creaked, that is, it made a sound. He looked at me for a time without replying, as if expecting me to withdraw or qualify the statement. Then he said, "It shouldn't have creaked." Now, the shoemaker, he was very confident about his work. So he said that it shouldn't have creaked because it couldn't be. He could have not made any mistake. But the author argued, "It did, I'm afraid. You got them wet before they found themselves." That means he is saying here that you must have got your boots wet before you could wear them and they could set themselves according to the shape and size of your feet. I don't think so. So the author disagreed to whatever he said. At that, he lowered his eyes as if hunting for memory of those boots. He was trying to recall, the shoemaker was trying to remember when did he make such boots that had a problem in it. And I felt sorry I had mentioned this grave thing. And the author, he was now feeling very bad for him that he had complained to him because he looked so troubled. "Send them back," he said. "I will look at them." Now he wanted to look at those shoes. He wanted to find out his mistake. "Some boots," he continued slowly, "are bad from birth." So the shoemaker, he admits that some shoes which are made right from the beginning, they are having problems. "If I can do nothing with them, I take them off your bill." So he said to the author that if he could not rectify the shoes, then he would return the money to the author. Once I went absent-mindedly into his shop in a pair of boots bought in an emergency at some large firm. Now once what happened, actually accidentally it happened that the author, he went to the shoemaker's shop but he was wearing a pair of boots that he had bought from a big firm, a large firm, because it was a situation of emergency. Now, this shoemaker, he made shoes when ordered. So it took some time, but it was an emergency, so the author had to buy that pair of boots from a large firm. He took my order without showing me any leather, and I could feel his eyes penetrating the inferior covering of my boot. Now, the shoemaker, though he was communicating with the author, but his attention was at the boots that he was wearing. He observed closely at the boot which he was wearing on his left foot. At last he said, "Those are not my boots." So he could understand from the make that he didn't make those boots. The tone was not one of anger, nor of sorrow, not even of contempt, but there was in it something quiet that froze the blood. The shoemaker was not angry. He was not sad. Neither an expression of hatred could be seen in him, but it seemed that he was horrified. That is, his blood froze. He put his hand down and pressed a finger on the place where the left boot was not quite comfortable. So he could identify the place, the spot where the shoe was having a defect, and he pointed that out to the author. "It hurts you here," he said. "Those big firms have no self-respect." So he at once understood who were the people who made this pair of boots. And then, as if something had given way within him, he spoke long and bitterly. As if the shoemaker, he got a topic to speak on, and he kept on speaking. He spoke for a long time and bitterly. He spoke rather harshly. It was the only time I ever heard him discuss the conditions and hardships of his trade. So, for the first time, the author heard him speaking about his miserable condition, speaking about his plight, speaking about his condition, the hardships that he faced in his business. "They get it all," he said. "They get it by advertisement, not by work." So, the shoemaker complained that these large firms, they don't work with dedication. How do they attract customers? Just by advertisements. They take it away from us who love our boots. So the customers are snatched from us. These big firms, they have money, so they can do lot of advertisements. They take away all the customers, and we are left with just a few. But we people, we love our boots. That means we love our work. We work with dedication. It comes to this. Presently, I have no work. So ultimately, what's happening to our trade? What's happening to our business? We are having no work. We are left with no work. Every year, it gets less. So every year, what's happening? Every year, it's seen that the customers they are leaving us and going to these big firms, branded firms, to buy their shoes, and we are left with no work, we are left with nothing. You will see. And looking at his lined face, I saw things I had never noticed before. Bitter things and bitter struggle, and what a lot of grey hairs there seemed suddenly in his red beard. What did the author notice suddenly? That his lined face, that is his wrinkled face, I saw. He has grown old, which he never noticed before. Bitter things and bitter struggle. He could understand his trouble. And what a lot of grey hairs there seemed suddenly in his red beard. So, it was for the first time that the author noticed how old he had grown and how much he was troubled, and the author felt rather very bad for him. As best I could, I explained the circumstances of those ill-omened boots, but his face and voice made so deep an impression that during the next few minutes I ordered many pairs. Now the author, he wanted to help him come out from that miserable situation. So what he did, he wanted to help him, so he ordered a number of boots and he tried to calm him down. They lasted longer than ever. So every pair of boots that the shoemaker made was of excellent quality, and so they lasted for a long period of time. He had no complaint against those boots, and he never had to go to the shoemaker to change them or to order for a new pair. And I was not able to go to him for nearly 2 years. So the boots lasted for nearly 2 years. That is what is understood from this line.